Hello everyone, and welcome back to another October DIY project. Today I'm asking the world a question. Why keep spending money on fall pillows when you can very easily make them? Today I'm going to show you a very fun project where you can use simple materials to create extremely cute pumpkin pillows. They're comfy and they're actually a really nice size, and I'm pretty sure you can just freehand the whole project. So I'm really excited to show you how I approached it, and then you can take the whole concept and sort of do your own thing with it. So I'm here in my studio now because I actually finished the pumpkins almost all the way, and then I had to go get more filling for the pumpkins because I only had one bag. Now I'm ready to finish them. So I'm actually going to jump back into the project myself, but you guys are going to start from the beginning, which is fabric shopping at Joann's. When I went to the Hudson Valley to see family, we took a quick detour to Joann Fabrics, and they had a ton of fun Halloween stuff, and it was really just a great day. So I'll show you a bit of that and then we'll jump into the project. Okay, to get started, you'll want to set up your workspace with all the materials you'll need. I'm just going to put a list on the screen here that you can screenshot. It's worth noting that I chose 3 different kinds of fabric with very different textures, and 2 of those ended up being really good for pillows. For pillows, I recommend woven fabrics, not knit, and definitely something with a little more texture and weight. So first we need to make a pattern for our pillow. I bought a ½ yard of each kind of fabric and then folded it in half and then used that as the guide for the size of the pillow. Sometimes if you're working with finicky paper like a rolled paper, if you fold it up, it can help you lay it flat so that you can actually work with it. Probably the most nerve-wracking part of the project is just drawing the shape that you want your pillow to be. I decided to use a cookie cutter as inspiration because I think it just was a very recognizable, easy shape. My fear was that the pillows would come out looking like tomatoes if they were too round, so I really liked the silhouette of this cookie cutter. Once your pattern is cut out, you're going to pin it down to the fabric, and make sure your fabric is folded in half with the face of the fabric together. The face is also called the right side of the fabric, and that will be the exterior of your pillow. When you cut out your pillow, you're going to cut it out with a ½ inch seam allowance. I did not do that here for this first one, so the pillow ends up being a little bit smaller than the other 2. I prefer to do all similar tasks in a row, so I'll cut all of my pillows out, sew them all, stuff them all, and then finish them all. So here's the knit fabric that I found extremely tricky and sort of regret buying. It was a really nice soft velour texture. Because it's knitted, there's just a lot of give and movement in the fabric, so it's just hard to make something that's supposed to end up a consistent solid shape. Definitely when you're going to make pillows, buy woven fabrics. The best pillow fabric I found was this faux fur, sort of faux shearling fabric. It was very fluffy, so the raw edge of the fabric was shedding a bit of fluff. I ended up just pulling some off of the edge to prevent it from going everywhere while I was sewing. Out of the three, this one was definitely the trickiest to cut through. Just another reason to get yourself a pair of excellent fabric shears. Now you can hand sew this project and it will just take you longer, but I took out my sewing machine for this next part. Definitely recommend sewing it with a machine if you have one. With the faces of the fabric together, you'll sew with a 1/2 inch seam allowance. I like to backstitch at different anchor points. So when I start, anytime there's a change in the sewing line, in the stitch line, like the bottom of these pumpkins have a curved shape. So at each point, I would do a backstitch or two just to anchor it. And this just helps prevent any pulling or loose threads when you're turning your pillow inside out and stuffing it. In order to stuff the pillow, we'll leave an opening at the top of the stem. For this slippery fabric, I definitely had some trouble keeping the edges together. Like I said, not only is it a knit, but it's a very slinky fabric. So I would suggest if you have a tricky fabric to work with, just keep it pinned as you sew. Afterward, I clipped into the seam allowance at each of those anchor points. So for example, on the bottom where there's a curve, we want to make sure when you turn it right side out that it's a clean line, and clipping the seam allowance can help you achieve that. And once everything is sewn up with the machine, I'll go in and trim away the excess seam allowance. Now we're going to turn each pillow right side out and sort of play with the edges and pull on the shape a little bit to get it to the true shape of the pattern. The goal is to adjust the seams to make sure it's laying flat. So if you have any bulk inside or it's just not looking right, go ahead and turn it inside out again and see where you can clip or trim away the seam allowance and get that clean line. Now the fun part, it's time to stuff these pillows. I ended up using a partially used bag of polyfill, so I had to go back and buy more, but it's really up to you how full you want these pillows. As you're stuffing the pillow, make sure you're teasing the fiber fill for volume and to make sure you're not getting clumps. You may have to shake it around or stick your hand in and move fiber fill around and just mess with it a little bit to get the look that you want. As I said, the knit pillow visually was not the best looking one because apart from being a tricky fabric, it also showed the most texture of polyfill from the outside, so it looked a little lumpy. Keeping with the repetitive tasks in a row theme, I stuffed all the pillows at once. Because the plaid pillow ended up being slightly smaller, like I said, it was a little trickier to stuff because the opening at the top was smaller. In that case, stuff patiently and try not to rip the seams at the opening. If you really need to, you can use a seam ripper to undo some of the stitching so you have more room to stuff it. Once I had all the fiber fill in the pillows, I started removing some from some pillows, adding it to others, and just trying to even it out a little bit. But it became evident that I needed another bag of stuffing. Okay, so we're back at present day, and I am now ready to stuff these pumpkins and get them all sewn up so they can go on the couch. So let's go do that. Back at the work table, we're going to open up our new bag of fiber fill and finish stuffing the pillows. They ended up only needing a little bit each. To close these pillows, I like to do it by hand and attempt to make an invisible stitch that won't be noticed from the outside. I pinned the top in place and used what is called a whip stitch for the really fluffy pillow because the threads disappear into the fluff. My demonstration here is a little iffy, but if you search whip stitch, you can find really easy diagrams and learn how to do this in about 5 seconds. The plaid pillow would be more noticeable showing thread on the outside, so I used what's called an invisible stitch, or sometimes a ladder stitch, to seal up the seam. Basically, I folded in the raw edge at the top and then hooked a bit of the fibers of fabric on each side of the seam going up. The closure of this last tricky pillow didn't come out very well, so don't use me as a model here, but I attempted to do the same invisible stitch here, and because of the nature of the fabric and the stretchy knit texture, it just didn't come out looking very good, but in the end, it got closed. This is definitely a project you can do in a few hours. It took me a couple days because I had to wait for more fiber fill, but it's pretty easy, as you can see, to make these super cute pumpkin pillows. Now they're ready for the couch or the bed or wherever you want to put them. So there you have it, friends. I hope that this fall DIY project was fun, and I hope that you'll create some fall pillows of your own, be it pumpkins or acorns or candy corns or ghosts or any kind of fall thing you want. All you really need to do is create a little piece-by-piece pattern, buy a half a yard of fabric in a few colors that you like, and sew them together and stuff them. It's easy. I want to see what kind of pillows you guys are making, so be sure to follow me on Instagram at HeyMishka and tag me in any projects. This October I'm doing DIY and vlogs for Vlogtober every weekday, so be sure to follow, jump on my newsletter, heymishkanewsletter.com, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Have a cozy and creative day. Bye!